In this tutorial, we will learn how to combine a press mold with clay slabs cut into leaf shapes inspired by those found in nature. These decorative little sculptures work well as appetizer plates, spoon rests, or soap dishes. This technique combines the shapes and textures easily created in slabs with the refined forms that are quickly available to us using wooden, plastic, plaster, or bisque clay molds. You can finish these projects with any combination of underglaze, slip, and glaze that you have experience with. While all of the examples found in this demonstration use a leaf motif, any shape can be made by substituting another design at the paper template stage. Likewise, changing the material and form of the mold has a significant impact on the space held by the ceramic piece. I recommend taking a walk and collecting leaves of interesting texture, shape, and color as a fun way to prepare for this project if the season allows. You can keep your leaves moist by storing them in a Ziploc bag or by pressing them in between the pages of a heavy book between wax paper. Begin by sketching or tracing your leaf onto some paper. Many artists use heavier paper for the templates so they last longer. You can scale up your leaf and simplify the details. Another option is to use the reduce and enlarge function on a copier to make the paper template that is 20% larger than you want the finished design to be. Cut out your stencil, making as many different designs as you wish, including subtle variations with a similar motif adds visual interest to the series. Next, we'll prepare our clay by tapping it above the leg at the corner of a sturdy table. Doing this in a bag saves cleanup, but isn't necessary. Compressing the clay makes our slabs more dense and thus stronger. Slabs have to span a large area, bearing weight while only being held at the edge, making this step necessary. Compress your clay from multiple angles for better strength. Putting paper or canvas on our workspace helps keep the clay from sticking or tearing as the slab thins. Use sticks to gauge the depth of your wire cut, being sure to pull the wire taut as you pull it through the clay for even slab thickness. Changing the thickness of your sticks can increase or decrease your slab depth. This spiraled wire from mud tools leaves a corrugated or wavy texture, responding to the gesture you use as it glides through the clay. Before you cut, make sure your slab is big enough for your stencil and inspect both sides of your slab, compressing the clay with a rib to strengthen any subtle cracks that emerge in the blank. When your slab is prepped, use your stencil to guide your cuts with a needle tool, fettling knife or wooden knife, or similar tool. You can trace the details from the stencil onto the surface of your clay, refining the quality of these marks with additional tooling after you remove the paper. Wet clay responds well to gestures and mark making. Make the most of this ability to record marks by doing a majority of your expressive work while your slabs are still wet. The cutting will leave some clay crumbs called burrs on the edges of your cuts. Many artists refine cut edges with a fettling knife or a sculptor's thumb, keeping an eye for gesture and smooth contours, with additional refinements being made at the leather hard stage. While the clay is soft, add any other details that require softer clay, like the addition of the serrated edges used in this stylized ash leaf design. Another approach uses the fettling knife to add beveled edges to the corners of the leaf shape, adding shadow for the eye and comfort for the hand. The bevels can be created with a wood knife as well, running the tip of the knife on the surface of your table just outside the edge of the slab, giving a varied and gestural quality to your marks. Repeat these steps, exploring the range of tools, marks, and other design elements until you have the number of plates that you require. Once your shapes are completed, carefully press your clay into the mold you selected, being careful to avoid losing any details and textures that we've worked so hard to create. We'll dry our work to the leather hard stage in the mold, and then refine our work once more before it's ready for the bisque firing. I like to attach any handles or other protrusions back into the clay body by scoring and slipping, keeping these details but adding strength by doubling their connections. Be sure to press and coax your slab shapes into the mold that you selected so that it effectively copies the space and form of your mold. As clay gets thinner and drier, it tends to crack, especially slabs that are being bent. To avoid having cracks appear in your handles or other parts of your slab, compress it by squeezing it as you bend it. Remember to add your signature to your piece as you finish. The best place is usually on the bottom, though not always. The very last step I use when making slab plates is to check for cracks, compressing and burnishing them smooth as they appear. Typically, this is enough to keep them from showing up again even after the bisque firing. A second method of forming slabs begins by pounding out a block of clay into a slab that is 2 to 3 inches thick. Next, working on a canvas covered or slightly dusty surface, we stretch and pull the clay out by throwing it at an angle across our table, but make sure that the back edge of the clay touches the table first. This thins, compresses, and stretches the clay all at the same time, making expressive, strong slabs. Be careful to avoid throwing your slab straight down, as this sticks the clay to the table with no way to save the slab other than starting over. Keep in mind you can use any techniques you've used prior in this class, including pinch or coil. Even throwing could add some special effects or elements to your finished pieces. When drying your plates, keep in mind clay dries faster in plaster and bisque clay molds. Be sure to cover your clay depending upon the amount of time you're away from your project between work sessions. When the clay is leather hard, we'll use a sponge, wooden knife, or sculptor's thumb to remove any last burrs and refine our details. If your clay is bone dry at this stage, be careful. Bone dry clay is brittle, and clay dust is not good for your lungs or eyes. You can keep dust down by wetting bone dry clay with a sponge before working the area. Be sure to add your signature to your work and transfer your press molded slab plates to the wear racks for bisque firing. Delicate work is best moved at the leather hard stage. Use 2 hands when moving any bone dry clay to avoid the loss of fragile pieces. Take a look at the end of this video to see some more examples of press molded plates and platters before you begin your project.